Hello everyone, welcome to session 2 of the bridge course on chemistry. So I hope some of you who are probably joining for this session would have gone through the session 1. So in session 1 we have covered the idea of how to get the molecular formula and empirical formula of a substance. So both these sessions, session 1 and session 2, we are trying to cover some of the basic things related to the physical chemistry. So in session 1, if you look at it, we have talked about how do we find out the molecular formula or the empirical formula of the substance, because whenever we have a chemical substance, the composition of the substance is something that will be important. So whenever any substance is given to us, the analysis of the substance will begin with understanding of what is the composition of the substance. And we will know the composition of the substance if we know the molecular formula. Like say for example, if we say that the ammonia, which is a useful chemical substance, if we say that ammonia molecular formula is NH3, it means that ammonia has got nitrogen in it and hydrogen in it. And every molecule of ammonia has got one nitrogen atom and three hydrogen atoms. This is the information we will have from the molecular formula. Similarly, if we say that the glucose molecular formula is C6H12O6, this would mean that every molecule of that glucose will have 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and then 6 oxygen atoms. So this is the information we will have based upon the molecular formula of the substance. Similarly, if we say that the urea, which is another important chemical substance, urea, if we say that the formula for urea is NH2CONH2, then we will know that urea also contains nitrogen, it contains hydrogen, it contains carbon as well as oxygen. I think in 10th standard we might have seen that urea is the first organic compound to be synthesized in the laboratory. So this is the first organic compound to be synthesized in the laboratory. So the scientist who has done this is Euler. He prepared urea by heating ammonium cyanide. So in the second session, which is this particular session, we will be covering the analysis of balanced chemical equation. So remember, we already talked about it in the yesterday's session, that a balanced chemical equation is something that we are already familiar with in our 10th standard. Like, we have a method to balance it, which is the hit and trial method. And we even said that in +1, we will learn two more methods of balancing in a more scientific manner. One is the oxidation number method, and the second one is the half reaction method. Don't worry about what these things are. We will learn about them as we go on. But today's session we will be dedicating for the stoichiometric analysis, or the analysis of the balanced chemical equation. This is also what we call as stoichiometry. So the analysis of balanced chemical equation is what we'll be calling as stoichiometry. Now the question is, what do you mean by analysis? See, if we have a chemical reaction, then we know that there will be reactants, and as a result of the chemical reaction we will be getting products. The question is, how much reactant we must take to get a particular value of product, or if this much amount of reactions are given to us, what will be the amount of product we will get. And even in reactions where there are many reactants, like say for example there are reactant 1, reactant 2, like this, we may have many reactants in some chemical reactions. In what ratio we must combine them? So all these things we will be able to analyze based upon the balanced chemical equation. The analysis, if we do it on the skeletal equation or the original equation, that will not be meaningful. Only the analysis, if we do it on the balanced chemical equation, it will be meaningful. So we are going to talk about all these things in today's session. So those who are probably new to this bridge course, can probably go and take a look at even our videos on the basic concepts of chemistry that are available in both our JEE course as well as the NEET course. You can subscribe for a free trial version of it and then take a look at the detailed videos and get more fundamentals on this. So today we will dedicate our session for the stoichiometric analysis. In fact, yesterday session I gave one problem as an home task. I'm not sure how many of you would have actually done it, but if in case you are not able to get the answer for that question, so we had this question that if we take 1 gram magnesium and this is completely oxidized, then the oxide of the magnesium is weighing 1.66 grams. That was the question, and we were asking what is the simple formula of the compound, empirical formula of the compound. The answer should have been magnesium oxide, MgO. I've seen some of you have actually typed it in the chat window, so those who have not got it probably can take a look at the answer again and check back. The answer should be MgO. That is the empirical formula of the compound. Now the stoichiometric analysis, or the analysis of the balanced chemical equation, what are these objectives of the analysis? Because whenever we are doing something, there must be an objective, and here for this analysis the objective is one, to estimate the amounts of reactants required to react in proportion. So mark this word, what we're saying, the amounts of reactants required to react in proportion, means we are looking for what amounts they must be combined so that they will be exactly in proportion. What happens if they are not in proportion? We will see that some of them will be left over and some of them will be fully consumed. The ones that are fully consumed, or even the one substance that is fully consumed, is going to be called as the limiting reagent, and the ones that are left over we will be calling them as excess reagent if it is one. If you have many means, we will call them as excess reagents. So we would be knowing after this analysis what is the exact amount in which we must be taking the reactants, and if some amounts of the reactants are given to us in a particular chemical reaction, we will be able to identify which ones are going to be consumed completely and which ones are going to be left over. There is a significance for the ones that are going to be consumed completely, and we'll discuss about the significance of those substances, but we will be calling them as limiting reagent or limiting reagents. And the analysis will also help us in finding what is the amount of the product formed, because every chemical reaction is about formation of products, right? We want to know how much product will be formed. So we will be able to identify also what is the amount of the product that will be formed if we have the given amounts of the reactants. So all these things we will be able to understand based upon the stoichiometric analysis. So let's get into it. So what we do is we will start with one example. So we'll take a reaction and try to analyze how this particular reaction can be looked at from stoichiometric analysis point. So for that we are taking one very popular equation, formation of ammonia from nitrogen gas and hydrogen gas. This reaction is very popular in terms of chemical analysis, and this reaction is called as the Haber's process. Haber's process for the synthesis of ammonia. So what is it? If we take nitrogen gas and mix this with hydrogen gas, we are going to be getting ammonia gas. If you see this one, this is not a balanced chemical equation. So how do we balance it? N2 gas plus 3H2 gas gives rise to 2NH3. So this is what is the balanced equation. We can check it now. The number of nitrogen atoms count on the left hand side is what? 2 nitrogens are there. Right hand side, how many nitrogens are there? There are 2 nitrogens. Okay. Hydrogens on the left hand side, how many are there? 3 2s are 6 are there. 6 hydrogens are there on the left hand side. Right hand side, how many hydrogens are there? 2 3s are 6. So both nitrogen count and hydrogen count is same on LHS as well as RHS. So this is balanced equation. Now the thing is how we will analyze the balanced equation. The first step of analysis is the molecule ratio in which they are combining and the molecule ratio in which the products are formed. So look at this. If there is no factor means here we will take it as what? 1. So if you see this reaction, what we'll say is 1 molecule of this nitrogen will combine with 3 molecules of hydrogen to produce 2 molecules of ammonia. This is the first step. So what is the first step analysis? If you just look at the balanced equation, the first thing that we can tell is that the 1 molecule of nitrogen will combine with 3 molecules of hydrogen to produce 2 molecules of ammonia. Now if you multiply this by any specific number, let's say we multiply it with number 10, which means what? 10 molecules of nitrogen will react with 3 into 10 will be how much? 30. 30 molecules of hydrogen to produce 2 into 10, 20 molecules of ammonia. If I multiply this by, say for example, 1000, what we'll have? 1000 molecules of nitrogen will react with 3000 molecules of hydrogen to produce 2000 molecules of ammonia. So we can multiply this with any number. So if we multiply this with the large number that we'll use in chemistry, which is called as Avogadro number. So what is the Avogadro number? Avogadro number is nothing but 6.022 into 10 power 23. Avogadro number of particles is basically what is called as mole. Whenever we have Avogadro number of particles, that will be called as what? 1 mole. So 1 into Avogadro number means what? 1 mole of this nitrogen will react with 3 into Avogadro number. See, Avogadro number means 1 mole. 3 times Avogadro number is there means how many moles will be there? 3 moles of hydrogen to produce 2 into Avogadro number. What will be 2 into Avogadro number means? 2 moles of ammonia. So this is what we will be looking in terms of the mole ratio. So understand this clearly. First we started with what? Molecules ratio. The moment whenever a reaction is given to us, we can straight away say what is the molecule ratio in which they will be reacting and what is the molecule ratio in which the products will be formed. And then we can get to the mole ratio. So what we are having, 1 mole of nitrogen will combine with 3 moles of hydrogen to produce 2 moles of ammonia. Now from the mole ratio, we can go to the mass ratio. What is it? So this is also important for the analysis. What is this mass ratio? If you look at nitrogen, what is the molar mass of nitrogen gas? 2 nitrogen atoms are there. So 2 into 14, how much it will be? Because gram atomic mass of nitrogen is how much? 14. So all these common elements, right? We must know the gram atomic masses. So the molar mass of nitrogen gas will be 2 into 14, 28 grams. Molar mass of hydrogen gas will be hydrogen, the gram atomic mass is 1. So 2 hydrogen atoms will be there in the molecule. So 2 into 1 will be how much? 2 grams. And ammonia, it has got 1 nitrogen 14 plus 3 hydrogens, 3 into 1. Totally how much it will be? 17 grams. So molar mass of nitrogen is what? 28 grams. Molar mass of hydrogen is what? 2 grams. And molar mass of ammonia is what? 17 grams. Now we will come to the mass analysis. What is it? We have 1 mole of nitrogen. Means 1 mole of nitrogen, what will be the mass of 1 mole of nitrogen? 28 grams of this N2 will combine with 3 moles of hydrogen gas. Mass of 1 mole of hydrogen is how much? 2 grams. 3 moles mass will be how much? 3 into 2? 6 grams. So 28 grams of nitrogen gas will combine with 6 grams of the hydrogen gas to produce 2 moles of ammonia. 2 moles of ammonia means what? 1 mole of ammonia, what is the mass? 17 grams. 2 moles means 2 into 17, it will be 34 grams of ammonia. Now if you see this, there is an interesting thing. What is that? If we are looking at the mass amounts, 28 plus 6 will be exactly equal to what? 34. That is why we keep saying that a balanced chemical equation will satisfy the law of conservation of mass. We can see the total mass of the reactants, 28 plus 6 is how much? 34, will be equal to the total mass of the products, 34 here. So this is what we call as the stoichiometric analysis. So stoichiometric analysis, what we are going to get first, we will have the molecules ratio. From there we can get to the mole ratio, and from the mole ratio we can convert this into the mass. So these amounts, right, the mole amounts and the mass amounts that we are indicating here, they are also called as stoichiometric amounts, because they are coming from the balanced chemical analysis. What we call them as stoichiometric amounts. Okay, so this is what is the idea of how do we analyze a balanced chemical equation, and this analysis is what we call as the stoichiometric analysis. Clear, guys? Now what we will do is we will take one illustration problem and try to analyze it. So in this session, right, what we are also trying to do is we are trying to take some very important chemical reactions. Like we talked about one, Haber's process. Haber's process is what? The manufacturing of ammonia from hydrogen and nitrogen gas. Then in the illustration we are going to analyze the fuel cell reaction between hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. You know what is a fuel cell? Fuel cell will be able to produce energy in a method alternative to combustion. Fuel cells will produce energy in a method alternative to combustion. Combustion will be ineffective. The efficiency of general combustion will be nearly 40%. But from fuel cell, any fuel is there, whether it is hydrogen gas, by the way, is a good fuel. It is in fact a fuel which has got the highest calorific value. Now we will be looking at how we can analyze the fuel cell reaction between hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. So what happens inside a fuel cell is the hydrogen will be combining with oxygen. Hydrogen gas will combine with oxygen gas to produce water. It will be in the liquid state. In fact, this is a method that is used in spacecrafts, etc., because as a result of this, right, they will be able to produce not only energy, because fuel cell reaction will give energy, and it will also be able to give them the drinking water. The water that will come as a result of the fuel cell reaction will be pure water. If you see this reaction, right, this equation is not balanced. So how do we balance it? We can do one thing. We can put a 2 here. 2H2 gas plus O2 gas gives rise to 2H2O liquid. The water will come in the liquid state. Now we can see the total hydrogen count is what? 2 2s are 4 on the left hand side. Right hand side 2 2s are 4. Oxygen left hand side is what? 2 oxygen atoms. Right hand side also 2 into 1. So it will be 2 oxygen atoms. So this is balanced equation. So how we are going to analyze it? Look at this, guys. What we can say? Two molecules, I mean you can also parallelly work it out. 2 molecules of H2 will combine with 1 molecule of O2 to produce 2 molecules of water. Correct. And if we multiply this with Avogadro number, what we are going to get? 2 moles of H2 will combine with 1 mole of O2 to produce 2 moles of water. Now let us do the mass analysis. H2, what is the molar mass? 2 grams. Just now only we saw that. O2, there are 2 oxygen atoms in O2 molecule. Gram atomic mass of oxygen is how much? 16 grams. So 2 oxygen atoms are there, means 2 into 16, how much it is going to be? 32 grams. Okay. And H2O, which is a very important substance, has got 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. So what will be the molar mass? 2 into 1 is 2 plus 16. Totally it will be 18 grams. Now let us come here. 2 moles of H2 means what? 1 mole of H2 mass will be 2 grams. 2 moles of H2 we are having, means how much it is going to be? 2 into 2 grams, it will be 4 grams. So 4 grams of H2 will combine with 1 mole of O2, means what? 1 mole of O2, what will be the mass? 32 grams. It will combine with 32 grams of O2 to produce 2 moles of H2O. 2 moles of H2O means what? 1 mole of H2O, the mass will be 18 grams. 2 moles means 2 into 18, how much it will be? 36 grams of water. Now again here also we can see 4 plus 32 will be equal to what? 36. So this is what we will see as analysis of the fuel cell reaction. So what we can say is, yes, if we take 2 moles of hydrogen gas and 1 mole of oxygen gas exactly in that particular ratio, then we will be getting exactly 2 moles of water. Similarly, if we take 4 grams of hydrogen gas, 32 grams of oxygen gas, we will be getting 36 grams of water. So this is what is the stoichiometric analysis. Clear, guys? Now we will take one illustration problem on how do we find the proportion of the substances, either the proportion of the substances required for the reaction or the proportion of the substances formed. Again, we will take the same example. What is the example we are going to choose? Fuel cell. In a fuel cell, hydrogen gas combines with oxygen to form water. This we already saw that. So if what happens in fuel cell? Fuel cell for the hydrogen will be having hydrogen gas combining with oxygen to produce water. We can have fuel cell reaction for the other fuels also. Like, in 10th also we might have studied that these hydrocarbons, methane, ethane, all these are propane, butane, they're all good fuels. We can have these gases also reacting inside the fuel cells. And yeah, come back to the question here. In a fuel cell, hydrogen gas combines with oxygen to form water. Okay, if 50 grams of hydrogen gas is taken into the cell, how much amount of hydrogen gas is taken into the cell? 50 grams of hydrogen is taken into the cell. What is the proportionate amount of oxygen gas required? So we need to find for these 50 grams of hydrogen, what is the proportionate amount of the oxygen gas required? So how we will do this question? By using the stoichiometric analysis. What is it? Let us look at it. So we'll straight away write the balanced equation. 2H2 gas plus O2 gas gives rise to 2H2O liquid. Remember guys what we said? The water will be formed in the liquid state. Okay, and in fact I told you that spacecrafts, people use this water for the drinking purpose. Now the mole ratio we have to first express. What is the mole ratio? 2 moles of this will combine with 1 mole of this to produce 2 moles of water. 2 moles of hydrogen means what? 4 grams. Will combine with 1 mole of oxygen means what? 32 grams. To produce 2 moles of water means 36 grams of water. We can see 4 plus 32 is how much? 36. Now comes the question. So this is what? This is the stoichiometric amount. So in this ratio we must have, for every 4 grams of hydrogen we must have how much oxygen? 32 grams. Okay. Now the given amount is there. What is the given amount of hydrogen? 50 grams. For this we need to find what is the amount of the oxygen required. In this box, what is the value required? So how do we solve these questions? These questions are solved by using the proportion methods. In mathematics we study the proportion method, right? What is the proportion method? Let us look at it. 4 grams requires 32 grams. Then 2 grams if it is there, I'm just saying 2 grams is there means how much will be required? Exactly half means here also it will be half. If 2 grams is there means we will require 16 grams. If you have 1 gram here means we will require how much here? 32 by 4. We have divided this by 4. What is the amount? 8 grams. So the amounts will be in proportion. So how do you work out proportion in mathematics? Let us say this is some x. What we are saying, the value here is what? X. So what is the proportion here? What is the proportion here? 4 by 32. So 4 grams by 32 grams. That is the proportion. Hydrogen amount by oxygen amount. What is the proportion? 4 grams of hydrogen, we have 32 grams of oxygen. This must be same as here also. What is the proportion? We have 50 grams of hydrogen. For that x is the amount of oxygen. We have to find the value of x. So the reactants, they will be combining in proportion. Proportion means what? Here in the stoichiometric amount, what is the amount? 4 grams and 32 grams. What is the ratio? We will take 4 by 32. Okay. This should be equal to, here what is the proportion? 50 is the hydrogen amount. For that, let us say x is the amount of oxygen. So what is the proportion here? 50 by x. Now we have to find the value of x. How do you find the value of x? Before that, let us just do the division here. 4 ones are 4 eights are. Then we will do the cross multiplication. What is the cross multiplication? LHS will get X, RHS will be what? 8 into 50 will be what? 400 grams. So the amount of oxygen that is required to combine with 50 grams of hydrogen will be how much? 400 grams. So how are we getting the value? Based upon the proportion. Okay. So what we are doing is, we are taking the mass of hydrogen divided by mass of oxygen in the stoichiometric amounts. Just simply equating it to what? Equating it to the given mass of hydrogen divided by the required mass of oxygen. That's it. We are going to get what is the unknown variable. Clear, guys? So this is the method that we are going to be using to solve problems. So anyone having any doubts means you can just type it in the chat box. I'm still looking at it. So if you have any doubts or clarification means I'll be able to explain. Yeah. So someone is asking, how do we find out what is the amount of the water formed? That's a good question actually. So in fact, I was just about to tell, how do we find out what is the amount of the water formed? So that also will be done by the same proportion method. How? We know that if we have 4 grams of hydrogen, we are going to get how much amount of water? 36 grams of water is going to come. Okay. 50 grams of hydrogen is there, means how much amount of water is going to come? Let us say this is some Y. Here also same proportion. What is the proportion? Mass of hydrogen by mass of water. What is it? 4 by 36 should be equal to Y by 50. So from here we will be able to find what is the value of Y. Okay. So you will see that sorry, it's not Y by 50, it will be 50 by Y. Because we have to do what? The mass of hydrogen by mass of water. So we will see that 4 ones are 4 nines are. So the value of Y is going to be 450 grams. And we'll see still that mass balance is satisfied. Why? Because here 50, here 400. Combine both of them. 400 plus 50 will be what? 450. So the mass of the reactants required and mass of the product formed we can find out by using which method? Proportion method. Clear, guys? This is how we have to find the amounts required or the amounts formed. Now, what if we have a substance which is present in lesser proportion? If a substance is present in lesser proportion, then what happens is that particular reactant will be totally consumed during the reaction, and when it is fully consumed, right, the reaction is going to stop there. That's it. And such a substance, what we are going to call as limiting reactant or limiting reagent. So what we'll call the substance as limiting reactant or limiting reagent. Now I'll explain this with an example that we already seen. Say for example, we have the same previous reaction. So what is that? Fuel cell reaction. 2H2 gas plus O2 gas gives rise to 2H2O liquid. For this, what we said, 4 grams of hydrogen requires 32 grams of oxygen. This is the required amount based upon what? Based upon the stoichiometric amount. Okay. Imagine if I have given amount, this is 4 grams. Hydrogen amount is how much? 4 grams. But oxygen is given as only, say for example, 20 grams. So what we see is hydrogen is 4 matching, but oxygen given is how much? Only 20 grams. We require 32. For every 4 grams we require how much? 32. But we are given only how much? 20 grams of oxygen. So oxygen is present in lesser proportion. Hence what happens in this reaction is oxygen is going to be fully consumed. So such a substance, right, we will be calling it as what? Limiting reagent. What do you call it as limiting reagent? So how do we know which is the limiting reagent? Limiting reagent we will find by using the ratio method. What is the method that we use to find the limiting reagent? Ratio method. It's a very simple method. What is the ratio method? We have to take a ratio of given amount by the stoichiometric amount. For every substance, we have to take a ratio of given amount by stoichiometric amount. In whichever case this ratio is least, that is the limiting reagent. In whichever case this ratio is least, right, that is the limiting reagent. Okay. I mean, we can see in this particular case only. So here, what is the given amount of hydrogen? 4 grams. What is the stoichiometric amount? 4 grams. What is the ratio? 4 by 4, which is equal to 1. Okay. Here you can see what is the given amount? 20. What is the stoichiometric amount? 32. What is the ratio? What is the ratio? 5 by 8. Which is lesser? 5 by 8 is lesser than 1. So oxygen will be the limiting reagent. And the importance of limiting reagent is, when the limiting reagent is fully consumed, the reaction is going to stop. So in case of reactions where limiting reagent is there, the amount of the product formed, means in this case how much amount of water is formed, is decided by the oxygen amount. And hydrogen will not be fully consumed in this case. That is why we will call hydrogen as what? Excess reagent. It will be left over. We will also find how much amount of hydrogen is consumed based upon the oxygen amount. So oxygen amount will decide how much amount of the product is formed and also how much amount of the other reactants consumed. That is the significance of the limiting reagent. So we will try to understand this with an example, but let us know what is the significance of limiting reagent and how do we find the limiting reagent. How do you find the limiting reagent? By the ratio method. What is the ratio method? We have to simply do the ratio of given amount by stoichiometric amount. When you do the ratio of given amount by stoichiometric amount, wherever the ratio is least, that will be the limiting reagent. That's it. Okay, so we look at one illustration question. During the Haber's process to prepare ammonia. So remember we talked about this. Haber's process is what? Nitrogen gas combining with hydrogen gas to prepare ammonia. 42 grams of nitrogen gas and 12 grams of hydrogen gas are taken. These are the given amounts. Remember what they are saying about the given amounts? 42 grams of nitrogen gas and 12 grams of hydrogen are taken. We need to answer which is the limiting reagent and what is the amount of excess reagent left over. What is the amount of ammonia formed? So lot of questions. What all we have to answer? We have to find first what is the limiting reagent. So with this problem, right, I think we will know the entire idea of the limiting reagent concept. So pay attention to this carefully, guys. What all we have to answer? We have to answer what is the limiting reagent. We have to find out what is the amount of the excess reagent left over. And we have to also find what is the amount of the ammonia formed. All these three things we have to find out. Okay. Now I will write the balanced equation and I want you guys to try. I'll give some time in between so that you guys can work it out and tell me if any one of you is there in the answer. So N2 plus 3H2, I am not using the gas symbol because we know that all these substances are what? Gases. N2 plus 3H2 gives rise to what? To ammonia. So I am writing the stoichiometric mass. Guys, we already did this. Stoichiometric amounts. 28 grams plus 6 grams gives rise to what? 34 grams. Remember, we already done this. 1 mole of nitrogen gas will combine with 3 moles of hydrogen to produce 2 moles of ammonia. Means 28 grams of nitrogen will combine with 6 grams of hydrogen to produce 34 grams of ammonia. This is the stoichiometric amounts. Clear, guys? We already done this just now, some time back. Now let us look at what is the given amount. What is the given amounts? Nitrogen, how much is given to us, guys? 42 grams of nitrogen is given to us. And what is the hydrogen given to us? 12 grams of hydrogen. Now we need to find what is the, what we need to find? We need to find what is the limiting reagent first. So how do you find the limiting reagent? Given amount by stoichiometric amount. So how do we do it, guys? What is the given amount for the nitrogen? What is the given amount? 42. So 42 by 28. 7 6s are 7, 4s are 6 by 4 means how much it is? 3 by 2. Clear? And here what is it? Given amount is what? 12 by stoichiometric amount is what? 6. 12 by 6 means what? 2. Now you tell me, guys, which is the lower one? 3 by 2 or 2? 3 by 2 will be the lower one. Means what is the limiting reagent here? Nitrogen gas is the limiting reagent. Correct? So we got one answer. So what is the limiting reagent here? Nitrogen gas is the limiting reagent. Okay. Now once we have the limiting reagent, remember what we said? the amount of the product formed and the amount of the other reactant substances consumed. Means how much amount of other reactant substance is consumed will depend upon the limiting reagent. Okay, now let us say the amount of the product formed is Y. If we have 28 grams of nitrogen, how much amount of ammonia we are getting? 34 grams. But here, what is the amount of nitrogen you are having? 42 grams. 28 grams gives 34, means 42 gives how much? Guys, the proportion method, what we have to do? Amount of nitrogen by amount of ammonia as per the stoichiometric method. Divide by amount of nitrogen given by amount of ammonia to be formed. So you can see here, guys, 7 6s are 7 4s are. So on cross multiplication, what we are going to get? Y is equal to 34 into 6 by 4, means it will be how much? 4 2s are 4 17s. 17 3s are what? 51. So the amount of ammonia formed in this case is what, guys? 51 grams. So the other question is, what is the amount of the excess reagent left over? This we can answer in multiple ways. There is an shortcut method to answer it. So I'll tell you what is the shortcut method. So look at this shortcut method. We know that we are having how much amount of nitrogen? 42 grams. This is fully consumed. And what is the ammonia formed? 51 grams. So look at this, guys. Amount of nitrogen which is consumed, 42 grams, plus let us say X is the amount of the hydrogen consumed. Okay, this total value, whatever is the nitrogen gas consumed plus hydrogen gas consumed, should be equal to what? Amount of the ammonia formed, product formed. Means X value will be coming as what? 51 minus 42. How much it is, guys? It is going to be 9 grams. Okay, so this is the amount of the hydrogen consumed. But what is the amount of the hydrogen given to us? 12 grams is given to us. Remember, this is excess reagent. It will not be fully consumed. So in that only 9 grams is consumed, means what is the leftover amount? So leftover amount of excess reagent will be equal to what, guys? 12 minus 9 is going to be 3 grams. So this is how we can answer questions on the limiting reagent. So just understand what we are doing. First, what we did, we have taken the ratio, given amount by stoichiometric amount, 42 by 28 and 12 by 6, which is the lower one. For the nitrogen, it is the lower one. So nitrogen will be what? It is the limiting reagent. Wherever the ratio is least, that is the limiting reagent. So then we are finding what is the amount of ammonia formed. How are we finding ammonia formed? By the proportion method. Nitrogen stoichiometry 28 divided by ammonia amount is what? 34. That proportion should be equal to what? Nitrogen given 42 divided by ammonia, let us say Y is the amount. The proportion should be same. Okay, so from cross multiplication we will get the value of Y as what? 51 grams is coming. This is the amount of ammonia formed. Now from here we are finding what is the amount of the hydrogen consumed. How? We know that nitrogen is totally consumed, 42 grams, plus let us say X is the amount of the hydrogen consumed. So 42 plus X will be what? The total amount of the product formed, because mass will not come from anywhere, right? Whatever is the total amount of the reactants consumed should be equal to the mass of the product formed. Okay, so 42 plus X will be equal to what? 51, and we already have this 51. So means X value is coming as what? 9 grams. X is what? Amount of the hydrogen consumed. Okay, so if this is the amount of hydrogen consumed, what is the amount of hydrogen given to us? 12 grams is given to us. Okay, so in that 9 grams is consumed, means what is the excess leftover amount will be 12 minus 9, which is equal to 3 grams. Now with this understanding of the problems that we solved, I want you guys to try this one. So I'll just give 1 minute time to solve this question. Just try it by yourself. Maybe I'll help you with the balance equation. What is the question, guys? I'm just reading out the question. During the formation of SO3 from SO2 and O2, this is a process that happens even in the atmosphere. This is the reason for the cause of acid rains. Okay, SO2 gas will come from burning of coal, and SO2 will be oxidized in the air to SO3. And SO3, when it is dissolving in rainwater, right, you know what we are going to get? We are going to get the acid rains. So anyway, during the formation of SO3 from SO2 and O2, 1 mole of oxygen gas and 40 grams of SO2. Okay, this is interesting. Why? Because they are not giving the amounts both in mass. They are giving one in terms of mole, one in terms of mass. They are giving what? 1 mole of oxygen and 40 grams of SO2 gas are taken. Which is the limiting reagent? We have to tell what is the limiting reagent. Okay, so guys, I will write down the balanced equation. First, the normal equation we will write. Okay, what is the normal equation? SO2 gas plus O2 gas gives rise to SO3. You know what will be the balanced equation? 2SO2 plus O2 gives rise to 2SO3. Means 2 moles of this will combine with 1 mole of this to produce 2 moles of SO3. Now look at this. SO2, what is the molar mass? Sulfur atomic mass is 32 gram atomic mass. 2 oxygens are there, means 2 into 16. So totally it will be what? 64 grams SO2. Oxygen, we already saw that. Oxygen, what is the molar mass, guys? 32 grams. SO3, it will be 32 plus 3 into 16. 80 grams. So 2 moles of this. 2 into 64. 2 into 64 will be what? 128 grams of SO2 will combine with 1 mole. 1 mole means what? 32 grams. To produce 2 moles. 2 moles means 2 into 80 will be what, guys? 160 grams of SO3. So this is the mole amounts. This is the mass amounts. Both are as per the stoichiometry. Okay. Now let us see what are the given amounts. Given amount, we are given that 1 mole of oxygen, means this is given as 1 mole, and SO2 is given as mass. What is the mass of SO2 given? 40 grams. So O2 is given in terms of moles and SO2 is given in terms of mass. How do we find what is the limiting reagent? That is the question. So the question is very simple question. We don't need to do all the other things like we did in the previous question. We just have to find what is the limiting reagent over here. So try it out, guys. Yeah. Yes, I think some of you are getting it correct. So the limiting reagent here will be SO2. What is the limiting reagent, guys? SO2. How do we know that? See, remember what we said about the ratio? We said given amount by stoichiometric amount. If they are giving in terms of moles, means we will take what? Given number of moles by stoichiometric number of moles. So what is the given number of mole? 1. Stoichiometry, what is the moles? 1. So what is the ratio, guys? 1 by 1, which is 1. They are giving mass for SO2. So what we have to do? Given amount by stoichiometric amount. Given amount is what? 40. Stoichiometric amount is what? 128. So you'll see, interestingly, we'll have that it will be anyway, 10 by 32 means 5 by 16. So this is a ratio which will be anyway less than 1. 5 by 16 will be what? Less than 1. So what is the limiting reagent here, guys? Wherever the ratio is less. So if they are giving mass, means we will take the ratio in terms of mass. If they are giving moles, means we can take the ratio in terms of moles. So always, what is the ratio we are going to choose? Given amount by the amount as per the balanced equation. Wherever that ratio is lesser, that will be the limiting reagent. Clear, guys? So this is how we are going to find, and the answer for this question is what? SO2 is going to be the limiting reagent, because the ratio in that case will be 5 by 16 less than 1. In case of O2, what is the ratio? 1 is the ratio. Okay. So this is the kind of questions we can have on the idea of limiting reagent. So remember, guys, again what we are saying, limiting reagent importance is limiting reagent will decide what is the amount of the product formed and what is the amount of the other reactants consumed. So in a way, limiting reagent decides when the reaction is going to be getting completed. So it is not like we just mix the reactants in whatever amount that we want and we will see that all the substance will be fully consumed. No, only the limiting reagent will be consumed, and by the time the reaction is going to be stopped. So if you are performing chemical reaction in a setup like in a chemical industry or something like that, always they don't want any substance to be left over. What they usually do is they will try to mix the substances. Like if we are getting, imagine this same reaction is performed in a laboratory. So what they will do when they're mixing means they will always mix 2 moles of SO2 with 1 mole of O2, so that the reaction is going to proceed till completion. Okay, but I should not use the word till completion, because we'll discuss after some time that even if we mix them in the same proportion, the reaction will not go for 100%. We will see what is the reason for that. So we will learn about an idea in chemistry called as the equilibrium concept. Okay, so even if you are mixing in the exact proportion, right, it is not like we are going to have 100% of the reaction getting completed, because the reactions will be reaching what is called as an equilibrium state. So that is another concept in physical chemistry. We learn about it later point of time, but this is the idea of the analysis of balanced equations. This is important, guys. Even like whatever questions that we do in physical chemistry, most of the questions, right, it starts with the analysis of the balanced equation. Now the stoichiometric analysis, though it looks very useful, it has its own limitations. Now when we say limitations, limitation does not mean that something is negative. When we are saying limitation means it is not covering certain things. So what are the things that we are not covering here? We are not commenting on the rate or speed of the reaction. So we have a subject in physical chemistry called as chemical kinetics. What is the subject? Is chemical kinetics. In chemical kinetics, we are going to see how fast or how slow the reaction is going to proceed. So the stoichiometric analysis is just about the analysis in terms of the amounts. It is not going to talk about the speed of the happening of the reaction. And where we are going to learn about it? Chemical kinetics. In fact, for most of us, including CBSE, this subject will be coming in +2 physical chemistry. And for majority of the reactions, right, we will be using substances called catalysts. In fact, even in 10th standard, right, remember we talked about hydrogenation of oils. So hydrogenation of oils will give us fats, vanaspati ghee, etc. This reaction we will use platinum, palladium or nickel as catalyst. These metals, these are all what, D block metals. All of them are elements present in the D block. Okay, so these substances are used as a catalyst. Now catalysts are used to speed up the reaction. So the stoichiometric analysis, we don't cover the aspect of catalyst. And the last point, this is what I was talking about it before. We cannot explain the idea of equilibrium. So even if we mix the substances in exact stoichiometric proportion, right, we are not going to see 100% completion of the reaction because of the idea of equilibrium. What is equilibrium? We'll learn about it. We have actually, we have 2 chapters. One is called as chemical equilibrium, and the other one is called as ionic equilibrium. I think in CBSE we'll have both of them combined into one chapter, but in some state boards we have them as 2 separate chapters. Chemical equilibrium separate and then ionic equilibrium separate thing. So the equilibrium, right, is a phenomena where the reaction will be stopping even before going for 100% completion. So equilibrium is based upon the idea of what we call as the forward and reverse reactions. So all this time we are seeing that, okay, if we have hydrogen and oxygen, it is going to combine to give us water. But water may dissociate to give back hydrogen and oxygen, the reverse. Because of this reverse reaction, right, we are going to be seeing what we call as equilibrium. And as a result of the equilibrium, no reaction will go for 100% completion. Except for acid-base neutralization reactions, that too strong acid and strong base. If you have mineral acids and alkalis, those reactions only will go for almost near completion. But other than that, most of the reactions, they will be ending up at the equilibrium stage. So all these things are not covered in the stoichiometric analysis. Okay, so this is what we have as the limitations of the stoichiometric analysis, guys. But yeah, broadly, if your understanding of the stoichiometric analysis is proper, then it's a good way to begin the study of physical chemistry, because most of the other things, right, like all the chapters we have in physical chemistry, whether it is the equilibrium chapters or the chapters on chemical kinetics or the thermodynamics, all of them, right, including electrochemistry, all of them, if your understanding of the stoichiometric analysis is good, you will find all these topics in physical chemistry to be comfortable. And since physical chemistry is going to be like almost 40% or a little bit more than that in terms of weightage for chemistry in our plus 1 plus 2, it's very important that we'll start it on a right note. So guys, this is what we are covering in the session 2, and in the session 3 we will start with something on the organic chemistry. So hope this is useful, guys, and those who probably missed out the session 1, right, they can go back and check the session 1 also. And for those who want to get a little bit more deeper understanding of it, as I said, you can just go and register for our JEE or NEET courses in the digital concept digital portal. You can download our learning app also, both on Google Play Store and Apple Store. It is available, and try and check, because there are detailed video lectures on the specific topics. We can find all these things covered in the chapter called as basic concepts of chemistry. So whatever we have covered in session 1 and session 2, right, you can find these details in basic concepts of chemistry. You can go and take a look at these videos. Okay, so see you guys in the next session. All the very best.